From Amerivet Securities, a service-disabled, veteran-owned broker-dealer in New York City, we bring you Compass Check, a podcast created by veterans for veterans. The military uses a compass to navigate air, land, and sea. Now, Compass Check is here to help you navigate your transition into the corporate workforce. Our goal is to reach military veterans and members of the veteran community, empower and connect them with a multitude of resources that will ultimately set them up for success after leaving the military. I'm your host, Army veteran James Fitzgerald. Let's get moving. Kids Rank is a 501c3 service-based organization located in Chicago, Illinois, and was developed specifically for military children. Through the formation of local clubs called Prides, Kids Rank engages children in hands-on, skill-building projects and volunteer opportunities designed to encourage resiliency using three guiding core pillars of connect, lead, and serve. My guest today is Kids Rank Executive Director Kelcey Liverpool. Here's our conversation. Hey, it's nice to have you here with me today, Kelcey. What we're going to do is go ahead and jump right in. We have so much to talk about, but what I want to do is go ahead and thank you in advance for joining me today to bring light to some of these pressing issues to our military and veteran community.
Thank you for having me, James. I'm really excited to talk about our families today.
Absolutely. What we'll do is jump right into it. You're the executive director of Kids Rank. You're based out of Chicago, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Chicagoland area. So we're mostly in Great Lakes, which is near the Naval Command, about 20 miles north of the city of the Loop.
Okay. And I'm sure even with some of the COVID restrictions relaxing, life still hasn't gotten back to that quote unquote normal in your area. But overall, like, is everything still moving in a positive direction in your neck of the woods?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we are really excited to be back in person again. It's feeling like, people are ready to be out. We're having a bunch of events for Month of the Military Child. And so people are just glad to be back together.
And like you bring up such a good point with April being the month of the military child. There's so much that gets lost in the sauce when we talk about military and veteran issues, and a large component of that centers around the importance of the military family. So I'm happy to be able to have this discussion here with you, a subject matter expert, one who can really shine a light on some of the issues surrounding our military children, and some of the ways that we're supporting them. So I'm going to focus on your day-to-day profession at Kids Rank as the executive director. Give us a little bit of an insight. What does your day-to-day life look like? What are you doing, and who are you looking to impact?
So daily is different for me now, right? So I started the organization 10 years ago, and I was a military spouse for 17 years. I have two military kids of my own. Actually, my older daughter is a Coastie now, so she joined the Coast Guard this summer. And so when I started the program, I did a lot of the direct service working with the kids. Our program meets weekly. And so the kids have opportunities to connect with each other and their communities. And now we're talking about our growth, and we're talking about scaling and expansion. And so, our daily now is jam-packed with, making partnerships and relationships with our communities, thinking about how we reach more military kids.
I mean, that's wonderful. For me, I'm an Army veteran, so like I understand the importance of not only service but coming from a family that's brought up in that service. So number one, I want to thank your daughter for her service, but also thank you for your continued service, not only as a military spouse but a supporter of our military and veteran family unit. So like you're doing some of the vital work on the ground that needs to be done in support of our servicemen and women. So thank you and thank your family for their continued service.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's
I do want to keep. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
no,
didn't mean
go ahead.
to step on you there.
You go ahead.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna keep our foot on the gas, and kind of focus in on kids rank and some of the issues that are surrounding our military and veteran family members. So let's move towards the path less traveled. Can you tell us some information or an anecdote that would kind of illuminate something that maybe the civilian sector doesn't know or the military and veteran community doesn't know about some of the issues or problem points for our military dependents?
Yeah, I mean, I think that children are kind of, a lot of times, you said it earlier, like lost in the sauce. They don't necessarily get considered from the broader population, where a lot of members, service members, and veterans, really that's a huge consideration for where they're going to move, where they're going to get jobs, are there good school districts? Should they stay in the military? Should they get out? How is this impacting our families? And so, it used to historically be that things were behind a gate or within an installation. There were schools on bases. There, all of your grocery shopping, all of your medical care, everything was on a base or installation. And what has happened, kind of in modern day, is 80% of our families live in civilian communities. And so 70% of the kids go to public schools. And that's very different than it was historically, which means that our communities need to be better educated on how to support our families that are integrated into, where they're living. And so it really makes a big difference. But a new study that just came out, a family survey, showed that only 30% of military families feel connected in the communities that they're currently calling home. So that means that, that's kind of startling, thinking that 70% of these families that are, serving our country, either or past or present, that they don't necessarily feel connected in their communities. I think there's a gap in some of, the understanding of military culture. And so it ends up being, this divide, a lot of times unintentionally, but it does happen. So, really thinking about how we address that, how we help our civilian friends and our military families feel, more like a community that is working together.
One of the things that I didn't consider as a bachelor for the majority of my time in the military. I didn't really consider how many times the military family changes duty stations. And on top of that change of duty station comes a change of school, environment, community, resourcing, medical care. All of these things are shuffled up for not just the service member and the spouse or like dual service member family, but like, the focus for our conversation, it's the child to think, wow, that's a huge shuffle. And after 2 years of the pandemic, just seeing the impacts of these changes to our young people, imagine what our military children have been going through for the last 20 years as we've fought the war on terror. It's been something that I don't think has been discussed enough, but it's why I'm glad that I have you here today. So with that, I definitely want to put myself in the boots of a veteran that's transitioning out of active duty service and moving into a community near you. And so what I'd like to do is kind of kick things off with, talk to me. I'm that veteran that's in your community that's looking to get involved. I come across Kids Rank. I happen to run into you. Like, hit me with what I need to know when it comes to why this program is, for me. What is what is it going to provide me as a veteran, but also what is it going to provide these young people?
Sure. I mean, you're right. I mean, we move every active duty. We're moving every 2 to 3 years. The kids, on average, in their school age, kind of careers, will go to 9 different schools. I mean, if you can imagine having to go to 9 different schools, as a child, it's a lot of adjustment. And so, for like transitioning veterans, some of the challenge comes in when end your time in service. So do the services that were available for your family. So you go from being a child that may have had like the youth center and different types of programming that you were afforded as being part of a military family. When you become a veteran child, those services are no longer available. And so some of that loss of identity, happens. And for our program, we're open to active duty, veterans, National Guard, Family of the Fallen, all branches of service. And so, we really were mindful when we were starting the organization to think about, we want to be all encompassing. So if military is part of your DNA and part of, your family culture, we want to make sure that we still are connecting with you, because it is. I mean, a lot of families, end their time in service, but service is such a big part of their who they are. And so being a part of our program allows you to continue that. So our core pillars are connect, lead, and serve. So we want the kids to connect with each other, their communities. We want them to work on leadership attributes. And then we also want them to be of service to their community. So it kind of mirrors those same things that a service member family is accustomed to. We want to echo that in what they're doing with their families. And so it's kind of like home, right? Like you understand, we have the kids have their own creed. Wait, I'll show you. I'm a visual person. So in the program, they earn ribbons for their service. And so we do pinning ceremonies, based on the curriculum, which are really fun. And they usually love their parents or family to come and pin them. We make it very ceremonial. They do PT. If you've ever seen a 5-year-old call out like PT, it's the best thing. And it just, again, it continues to echo and really celebrate military culture so that they have that sense of, our groups are called prides. We want them to have pride in what their parents are doing or have done in the past, because, that helps in transition, right? Like to have something where you feel very proud of it, it's not a burden. You have to move again. You're like, oh, that's so terrible. But, if you're like, you understand kind of the bigger picture and what the wonderful things are about our community, then, it makes it a little easier. So, yeah.
Like it really resonated with me as I transitioned back in 2014. But it really resonated with me when you were talking about transitioning families, losing those kind of unwritten resources and services, community center. Maybe a tutor at school, maybe a park that was located close, a grocery store that had reasonable prices. Whatever it may be, it's like those are some of the unwritten things that we don't consider until they're gone.
Right.
And on the veteran aspect, a lot of us miss those services, but we also talk about the human element, which is, oh, I miss the camaraderie that I used to have when I went to work, or I miss the great mentors that were able to guide me through and make me a better soldier, leader, airman, Marine, whatever it may be. And I think that we should, use that same lens when we're looking at our young people.
Absolutely.
What mentors, their sports coaches, teachers, community leaders, there's a myriad of different examples, but like that is a unwritten resource that is lost to young people, whether it be transitioning to another duty station or transitioning out of the military umbrella as a whole with their family. Like they're going into just as uncharted territory as their parents. So like,
Absolutely.
wow, like I really am stepping back and trying to be a little less selfish, because wow, like there's so much to consider in the same respect. Like adults have it bad after our service, but like we have a lot of experience and knowledge to kind of support us. Our young people don't have that same advantage. So I think, yeah, like, wow, I really do want to continue this and take a little bit more care in how we approach this. So, I appreciate you talking to me like I'm the veteran on the street that just transitioned, and trying to figure out how to get my way to you. The other thing, and I'll let you address this however you feel necessary, but what does a successful outcome look like? What does a successful outcome look like for the veteran or the service member that's connecting with you, and what does a successful outcome look like for the young person?
So, I mean, I'll start with the young person, right? So, we want through our programming, we're a social and emotional. We support the social and emotional well-being of our kids, and so it's more than just when they go to school and they get they learn math and they learn science and all of those things. And through our programming, we really want to build some of those characteristics that allow them to be compassionate, uh, well-rounded leaders that can go into communities as adults and really contribute to the uplifting of the people that they are serving in their communities. And the reason why, or one of the reasons why, is if you consider that 50% of our currently serving, at least I think it's a little more than that, are children of veterans. That means that half of the kids that we serve will potentially go into service themselves. And so if we're talking about what it looks like for our next generation of service members, we would want them to be pretty well adjusted. I mean, I think that in order to have a strong military, it almost is like a national security issue, right? Like, and it's not only up to us, but we are a piece of what could help to drive that. And I think that it would be interesting to do a study and find out how many of those kids that don't go into military service go into careers that are service minded. So teachers, first responders, things like that, social workers, things like that. And so I think for our veteran community, that service piece is such a big component, and we want to make sure that we're instilling that so that as they go from young people to adults, that stays as a really strong character trait.
Mm. There's been so many different studies done on the service member and the veteran themselves. And one piece of information that pops up off the top of my head is how veterans are more likely to volunteer and provide some type of community service when compared to their civilian counterparts. So exactly what you were mentioning about doing a deep dive, some research, some look into our young people and how some of these influences are impacting them and their ability, desire to serve. We may be creating a direct pipeline for the next generation of service members, and we don't even know it yet or don't have the data to really
Absolutely.
solidify it in our society and underscore that importance. So,
And
like
it's
this is,
amazing
yeah.
that, we've had a military for, hundreds of years, that research around military kids is still relatively new. And it's funny. I mean, even from the kids in our program that started, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, and some of the kids from early on, they talk about, now we have a youth advisory board, and they talk about how service is, such a big, they feel very at home and comfortable around doing service. They join service clubs in high school or in college. Well, our first round of kids are like in college now. And like I'm writing, we had a young man, I wrote a letter of recommendation. He's going to Purdue for engineering. We're very proud. But, those kinds of things, like they want to continue to give back and feel very comfortable because, that's what we did as a program. That's what we do as an organization. And that's what their parents do.
Well, like congratulations all around, not just about the anniversary, but the progress of these young people. Seeing that over a decade, and I'm excited to hear more when I have you back for several anniversaries in the future. I do want to kind of just bother you for one last point to see if there's any kind of additional information, research, studies, reports, even if they're not produced by yourself, maybe a government agency or something like that. I know you just mentioned that there's not a lot out there, but what could be something that could give us a little bit more information into what's going on, the impacts. so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
I mean, so there's some really great organizations that we work with. There's a very small kind of handful of organizations that support military children: the Military Child Education Coalition, National Military Family Association, Camp Corral. We're working with Elizabeth Dole Foundation has their Hidden Heroes program, and we're one of the partners for that organization. We're going to be going in May to do some work with them. Actually as part of our mask program. So we did this mask program that it is not like COVID masks, but they're visual. There
I
are
mean, you never know nowadays. Please, like I'm gonna go completely off script. Like tell us about these masks, please. Like
so
anything that's
yeah
not
no so
COVID
they
related, I'm all for.
I know, right? So they are. It is actually a program that we have designed that we started before COVID, and it was a way to get insight. And it was developed from a veteran art therapy program where veterans were able to express their time in service, post traumatic stress, those kinds of things
Mm.
through art, really. And so they created these three-dimensional paper mache masks, and we thought that it would be a really impactful way to talk about being military children and their experiences of being military children. And so we started, and we had a group of 100 kids. We had a catalog. It's really beautiful, that the
Uh,
kids were able
uh,
to
like like
um,
we'll definitely have to get that out there. Oh, those are
oh,
beautiful.
they're beautiful. And what's so stunning is they're kids from 5 years old through teenage that have created these masks. And so in the last year, actually next month in May, during Month of the Military Caregiver, we'll be heading to DC to work with the Hidden Heroes Coalition as part of that. And so having kids from caregiver families create masks of their own. So our goal is to do 1,000 masks over the next year nationwide. So we're reaching out to partners nationally to work with children in their community. So I mean, it could be a school that wants to do this project, and so they can facilitate this project. We'll have all the materials that they need to be able to do it. And the bigger piece of that, talking about reports, is that we're going to be collecting data. We don't want to know some trends. We want to talk about subpopulations within military culture, because that doesn't always, you think of a military family, and it really still is like the white service member couple with their 2 point, however many children. And that is a very, visual image of what I still think a lot of people think of military families, when there's such a broad variety, right? And so we're going to, through this project, be able to really start to spotlight and highlight all of these different populations of military families and children as part of it, and collect data on what's going on with these kids and how they're feeling about being part of our families.
So I absolutely agree. When you close your eyes and envision a veteran, or what a veteran family is supposed to look like, if you're not having a Rolodex fly through your mind of all different sizes, shapes, colors, backgrounds, then you're not seeing the army or the military that is supporting and serving our nation.
Absolutely.
What I'm going to do for these last couple minutes while I have you, I'm going to go back to the information thing that we've been hitting on, and how can we get in touch with you? I know you're going to be in DC, so like as much information as you possibly can give us. Like, how can we get in touch with you? How can we get a ticket with you to DC? Like, what can we do to contact you?
So our website is kidsrank.org, Kelcey Liverpool. So I'm just Liverpool at kidsrank.org for email. But I would say we have a real knack for finding ways for people to get involved. So like, for instance, we have our entrepreneurial program that we do with our teens, and they take a product through the process of business. So this is our Choco Zest cookie, which is a cookie that they developed the flavor for. That's this year's flavor. Last year was chocolat, and the year before that was lavender. So they worked through the process of business, and it was born out of financial literacy. So we wanted the kids to understand how to manage money, what they should be thinking about when they, think about money and budgeting and, all of those things. And we felt like entrepreneurship is that hands-on way to do that. And so we will have guest speakers come in and talk to the kids about a variety of things, maybe some marketing experts or somebody in finance, just depends on what it is. But we really can build workshops. Like I said, we want to really be able to give our kids skills. This program, overarching program for the teens, is called Social Skills and Service. And so we really like to partner. And so there's so many ways that we can do that to bring the expertise of some of our volunteers in to really support the growth of our kids.
Well, like, you really have put me to shame, because I don't know where you find the time to do all of this, but I'm extremely grateful that you're finding a way for everyone to get in where they can fit in and give back and serve in their own way. So thank you for that. I'm over the moon hearing about all your successes and accomplishments. And I know the future is going to be very bright. So, I'm going to keep my eyes open and focused on Kids Rank. But it's my time to let you go. Again, thank you for joining us today. This Compass Check podcast is for veterans, by veterans, to support veterans. So it's incredible to have you here showing us yet another avenue of approach for us to take on our journey transitioning out of the military. So with that, Kelcey Liverpool, Executive Director of Kids Rank, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for listening to Compass Check with AmeriVet Securities. I've been your host, James Fitzgerald. See you next time.